Hello and welcome to Talks, our first Talks of the year. I'm Kimberley Dondo, and in today's episode, I'm joined by
Lois Vallely, Chief Reporter,
and
Dan Cooper, News Editor.
Yay! Thank you both for joining me.
I didn't do a silly title.
You didn't.
Well
it's a
New
new
Year's
year.
resolution.
New
New
year.
start.
Yeah. Taking
But
everything
queen of
more
money
seriously.
marketing, really.
Oh, you couldn't resist.
But obviously this is our first episode of the year, which is exciting. 2024 was a year. I don't know how else to describe it. There was a lot happening. After the holiday season, what's caught your attention the most in the financial world as we kick off 2025? Are there any trends or surprises?
So, do you mind if I go first?
No, it's fine.
For me, it was probably some comments came out recently about the triple lock.
Okay.
So this is something I've written about quite a lot over my time at Money Marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, all the advisors listening will know, but the state pension triple lock is state pensioners get the highest of either 2.5% earnings or what's the other one? Inflation.
Mm-hmm.
So whichever's highest of that, their state pension benefit.
Okay.
And I use the word benefit deliberately.
Okay.
Will be in line with that.
Okay.
So if that makes sense.
I think so. Why did you say you used the word benefit?
Well, I'll come on to that, Kim.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Tory leader, Penny Badenoch.
Yeah.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
So she was on LBC fairly recently.
Mm-hmm.
And she got a caller question which was about the triple lock
Okay.
and whether it's sustainable. That's a question which has been asked quite a lot over the past, well, certainly the whole time I've been at Money Marketing, I'm sure before I joined in 2021 as well. It came in 2010, but is it sustainable in the long term, as in sort of past 2050?
Mm-hmm.
Most, especially pensions experts and people in the pensions industry, would say no, it's not. So this caller question, I don't know who the caller was, but he asked the question, is it sustainable and what should be done about it?
Mm-hmm.
And what she literally said was, starting with the triple lock is not how to solve the problem. What the national and social media channels jumped on was, Kemi Badenoch would cut your state pension. And I just think even like Labour Party social media account was saying that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so symptomatic of how people are about it. And it really, I came off X last year. Sounds so weird. I left
Just say Twitter
last year.
Just make Elon mad.
And it wasn't just for that reason, but part of the reason was just seeing how stupid people are about the state pension. And
it's not just the state pension, it's just
the state pension.
The media literacy is at an all-time low.
That is true.
People lack nuance, but I get it for either side. They are trying to bring people over to their side, so they will say the most outrageous thing. I'm a bit surprised that
It's pretty far from the comment saying starting with the triple lock is not how to solve the problem.
Well,
to jump from that to... It's because she then went on to talk about means testing. I hate to defend a Tory, but she went on to talk, and she was kind of, she sounded to me like she was sort of skirting around the question a little bit, because she didn't address the triple lock directly. But
probably because she doesn't know.
She probably doesn't know. I don't think anyone knows, to be fair. But yeah, so she sort of skirted around the question. She was talking about means testing generally. So she mentioned like the winter fuel allowance and just general benefits and how difficult means testing is and how we don't do it well in this country. But that was kind of, either people didn't listen to exactly what she said on LBC and just, like she said, she mentioned triple lock and means testing within the same couple of sentences, so they immediately thought, oh, she's going to start means testing the triple lock and therefore she's going to cut state pensioners' pensions, which is a ridiculous leap, especially from a rival political party. Sorry, I get quite incensed. I think the microphone is far enough away.
The way she speaks, I don't think it's crazy to see her doing that.
It's not, but so I've written a opinion piece about means testing the triple lock and how, based on conversations with pensions experts, it's not just my own opinion, I don't think that would work anyway.
No.
So, but that's kind of a side point from just, sorry, I'm getting on the soapbox about it now. I'll back off. But the reason I mentioned benefits very specifically earlier was that was what I was going to say about on Twitter, members of the public, just insist that it's not a benefit, despite seeing like on the government website that it's a payout from government that most people are able to get after a certain age, which is clearly a benefit because I suppose the word benefits has got bad connotations. I get that, but it just is a benefit. It's not it's not like a pot that you're paying into that you then get at the end.
Because most countries don't
private pension
have that.
Exactly. I can't even remember my initial point now, but I feel quite angry.
Okay, so to allow Lois to
calm down,
Dan, what surprises, what trends have you noticed so far?
I think for me, it's the rising number of AI scams.
Yeah,
financial services. I mean, it's not. You could argue it's not a new thing, but
it's fairly new.
Ish, yeah. I mean,
AI will then increase the scammers.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like the level of sophistication that the AI can add to it, which is quite scary. So I spoke to Ian McKenna just after Christmas, and he was talking about he spends a lot of time in the States. He said that over there, just before Christmas, there was like a rising number of people using AI to impersonate financial advisors.
Oh.
Rather than just financial institutions, so
like actual
financial advisors, yeah. So it's just one of those things where it's
got a dark side.
It's got a dark side too, yeah.
Yeah.
It's obviously AI's done a lot of good in financial services. It's sped up processes. It's saved time. It's made advisors more efficient. But then you've got this other kind of dark side to AI, which
is it really worth it?
Is it? Yeah, and it's kind of like it's got the potential to, I think, to do more harm than good.
There's also the argument that is it even helping advisors that much? I don't know because I'm not an advisor. And I suppose it's kind of the same in most job role. Well, most sort of. I'm actually just speaking about journalism and advice. It's kind of similar. Like it can help you with a couple of tasks to maybe make you more efficient. But is it really helping that much? When I talk to advisors, all they say is that it cuts out some of the admin, so they have a bit more time to talk to their clients.
I think that all adds up though, because for me, there's a lot of tasks that I used to spend a whole day doing that using AI has cut in half. And now my time is free to do more of like podcasts and editing and other things that I actively need to be involved in. Whereas, the admin stuff, either I would just let it build up until the end of the month and I'm like, oh my God, I have so much.
Yeah.
Or it would just be like, I have to set aside a whole Friday to do all these tasks that I need to do.
Transcripts and cleaning transcripts is what has massively helped me.
And also sometimes with these podcasts for our promo, I do our captions. If I had to, there's sometimes I'm like, someone said a word, I don't know exactly what they said, but this AI is able to figure it out and put it in the right place and make it look nice. And I appreciate that because, again, it's cut the time that I would be spending on that, which would be hours, into minutes.
So maybe it's the same for advisors, and I suppose it is also something that's constantly
evolving.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to railroad.
No, not at all.
No. But I think, like looking throughout history, whenever something new is introduced, there is always a bad side. The internet was really great and cool, and then scam sites started scammers are going to scam.
Well, that's the point. I sat down with Chris Ball recently, CEO of Hoxton Wealth, and we should be coming to an magazine soon. Interview.
Look out for that one.
And he made a very good point, and he's 100% right that, as you said, scamming isn't a new thing. It's been around for years. You've had phone calls and emails and dodgy looking attachments. It's not a.
And
He
even
said-
before that, stealing each other's rocks.
Yeah, exactly.
or snake oil. Snake oil?
Snake oil.
That rings a bell.
Is that what they call like the people who pretend they're saying like snake oil is like gonna
Yeah.
heal all your ailments,
Mm.
but it's actually
Doesn't.
nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, even back then, that's
Yeah.
people were just criminals are gonna criminal.
They are. I think the trouble is that it's people are almost used to it at the banks by now.
Mm.
You get most people I know, if they get a phone call from their bank requesting personal information, straight away it kind of arouses suspicion. You think, is it definitely the bank? Whereas,
Yeah.
as I said, impersonating kind of financial advisors is a bit of a
That's
new
a bit-
thing.
Yeah.
Because these guys are really kind of sophisticated. They mimic, they create sort of bogus websites that mimic those of major US financial firms.
Okay.
So it's almost like indistinguishable. It's like secure URLs. It all looks legit. And
But that's also like I think it's called like social engineering.
Yeah.
Because it's all a part of the scam. You also need to get information from the person, so you make them trust you, and it's
Yeah.
all scary.
I think it's just it's got the ability to kind of like, although it's the banks aren't scamming people. It's not financial advisors obviously scamming people, but that the level of scams in banking I think has like eroded trust in the sector a bit.
Yeah.
I think the danger is that if this becomes commonplace where people are using deep fake and even cloned voices and other things to like even sound like a financial advisor, it's got that ability I think to kind of really erode trust in a sector where trust is like the most important thing.
And traditionally, financial services or finance in general has always been the slowest to uptake technology. So I think maybe that's what's hindered. But I know right now, anyone who works in cybersecurity is making a killing.
Yeah.
Just being able to come in and probably, help a lot of these institutions come up with something that will help them protect the public.
Yeah, I think that's why the FCA has obviously keep their eye on the ball this year and beyond, is just to protect
they'll
advisors
have, like,
and consumers.
regulation
Yeah.
in, like 5 years. No shade. Every time I feel like I say something sly about the FCA.
No, but it's true, because all these things develop so quickly, and by the time the FCA gets round to gets through all its consultations and brings out its policy or whatever it's going to say on the regulation, then things have moved on to something else.
And now we're more concerned about
I'm
this
not
new
even
thing.
blaming them. Like, they have
No.
to go through all the consultation.
It's good that they
periods
do,
and
because
stuff.
you have to be thorough. But yeah, things do move so quickly. But looking ahead, so if you had a crystal ball, or if we collectively had a crystal ball for the year ahead, what do you think will be the most defining moment or theme for advisors in 2025?
Good question. Crystal ball would be lovely, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I know.
I wouldn't lose so many football bets the weekend if I had a crystal ball, but
I would just be able to see if like this is worth it,
yeah, and that.
Yeah.
I think one of the things would be keeping hold of assets. There's obviously like the ongoing argument about intergenerational wealth transfer, and how typically advisors maybe haven't been doing enough to keep hold of those assets walking out the door, not forging relationships with
The kids,
clients' children, grandchildren,
spouses.
exactly, yeah. And I think that's still an issue. The most recent report, I've completely forgotten who it's from now.
Schroders.
It comes to me, might be Schroders.
Yeah.
Still saying
Christmas.
that. That's right. That's the one. It's still saying that advisors aren't doing enough to kind of counteract that.
However, I did see a comment on that article which I
Yeah.
really liked, which was it was a really good analogy. It was something along the lines of, why should advisors try to attract their clients' children? It's not like a Mexican restaurant owner tries to bring in their clients' children. If their clients die,
Yeah,
then they just get new clients.
it's an interesting analogy.
Yeah,
It kind of, it kind of
you're
works.
not a Mexican restaurant, or what was it? Was a Mexican restaurant, he said?
I think he said Mexican restaurant.
Okay. But you're not a restaurant, because restaurants have like shops where people can just stroll in. Most financial advisors, do they have like a high street office?
That's another interesting
It is.
question.
I know
isn't it?
there is
Completely
one that
new
opened
strand.
2 years ago in my village.
Yeah.
And I noticed it because I was like, whoa, financial advice. I understand.
There are a few.
But I don't know, because it's next to a newsagent and the post office. So I don't know how many people actually give it a second look.
That's a whole new debate about whether advice firms should have high street offices or not. I know a few with high street offices. I know some that hire office space for client meetings.
Yeah.
I know some that have like a special room in their house that's basically their office that they have client meetings in. People do it purely virtually. People go to clients' houses. I don't know what the proportions
I guess if you're a newer firm, you're probably starting at home now
Yeah, you're probably not going to be buying
and
office
renting
space.
the office space somewhere.
Maybe when you're more established, then have that kind of presence on the physical presence. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. Like it, for me, I think I would probably start at home and then build my business, and whether I want it to be somewhere where I have a physical office, if it's necessary.
I don't know if. I suppose it depends on your business model and etc. But for a one-man band advice firm, not sure how much office space would really add to your offering.
But going back to the intergenerational thing that we started with,
Yeah.
I understand the point that person was making. Yeah, you can always get new customers, but
Why turn away an easy way to get new customers?
I remember speaking to an advisor who said the way that he promotes intergenerational, I don't know, relationships is that every year he has a barbecue where he invites his clients and their families, and if they have like older kids, they can bring their young children and their partners, and then him and his partners, his firm, they can all like mingle and talk to them, and then you develop that relationship that way. And it doesn't seem that difficult.
Yeah,
No.
I
It's
know.
like, right, now we've got you all here.
Yeah.
Let's have a little chat about.
Yeah, and it's
Assets.
casual.
Advice,
There's no pushing or anything, but also it just means that, once mom or dad passes away, they remember, I don't know, I can't remember what this advisor's name was, but Mark from that one barbecue that we went, or that barbecue we went to every year growing up, I'll go back to him and ask him for help.
Because one of the issues with advisors not getting enough clients, although I don't know how big of an issue that is, but one issue for people wanting advice is that they don't know where to look for it. So I don't know what the proportions are. I didn't expect the conversation to go here, so I didn't research it. But I think, a large proportion of a lot of advice firms' business is from referrals or
Word of
passing
mouth.
down
Yeah.
the generations.
Yeah.
I think the other issue with the assets, just going back to that, is the changes to the non-dom tax,
Yeah.
particularly for advisors who've got particularly wealthy clients, high net worth, ultra high net worth clients. And obviously there was this talk of a kind of a mass exodus of millionaires
Quite a few
abroad.
have,
Yeah, I think a few have already, and there's talk
or maybe
about,
they've just changed their main address or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I think that's just going to be an issue as well in terms of assets. People, non-doms looking at saying actually are other countries better than the UK in terms of for tax purposes.
But aren't they looking to walk that back slightly, or?
Yeah, I think it was in
Soften
Davos.
it.
Was it Davos last week? Rachel Reeves announced they were softening the rules a little bit to.
Bring your millions here. We don't care anymore.
No, it was something to do with a temporary repatriation facility, I think it was, and just kind of easing the tax on that. But yeah, somebody made an interesting point. I got a press release this morning saying that there was a rule where effectively non-doms could leave the UK now and then come back in 10 years' time and qualify as a new UK resident, I think. Should have read the press release properly.
Yeah,
first, but
no.
it was some kind of like rule or loophole where you go away for 10 years, come back, and then pay less tax, which is an interesting point.
It's quite a big loophole.
It is quite a big loophole, but yeah, I think the combination of maybe not engaging with family members as much, the non-dom exodus, if that's still happening, I think that's got real ability to kind of like concern advisors and see those assets walk out the door.
Yeah, I don't see any. I don't think there's any harm in trying to cultivate a relationship, whether it is. It doesn't even have to be a barbecue. It could just be a initial meeting with the family.
Yeah, true.
See because also I think maybe for the advisor, just from speaking to advisors, it's also helpful for them to understand the whole family's financial picture, because sometimes even like between spouses, they're not being completely transparent about their financial situation.
I find that incredible. Imagine hiding money.
You
from
would
your
be
spouse.
surprised.
Can't imagine.
I mean, it's like the number one cause of divorce.
I don't
is,
have
like,
money to hide
finances.
anyway, but
But it's not even like hiding money. It's just like
No, I know.
how you spend it or what your pension.
what was the
status
story
is.
of that
the pension one.
pensioner?
Yeah, where the wife just decided I don't need to contribute
And
into
didn't
my
tell
pension.
her husband.
Didn't
Just
tell her
thought, I'll just
husband.
live off my
Yeah.
husband's pension.
And I can fully see that.
Why?
Because, well, going back to the pension story earlier, people don't know about pensions. We're lucky that we work in financial services, so we are more aware. But a lot
Or
of
I'm
people
lucky that I
aren't
have
aware,
my dad
who also understood
who told me all
pensions.
about pensions and
Yeah.
insisted
It's one thing.
that I get on top of them.
Yeah.
That's one thing not understanding pensions. There's another one altogether, isn't it? Going, don't really fancy paying into mine. I'll just live off someone else's. That's all right.
I think a lot of people are like that because they're like, I have the state pension. So why am I contributing into this? We already have a house. We're comfortable. How much more money? Because again, that's why you need a financial advisor, because you don't actually really realize how much money you need to comfortably
You need a
retire.
hell of a lot more than
Yeah.
the state pension.
You're like, whatever my paycheck was, surely that should be fine. But then, other costs come up.
Yeah.
You're at home more when you retire. When do you want to retire? What do you want to do when you retire? Like these are all
What kind
questions.
of retirement do you want?
Yeah. So, yeah. But Lois, what's your crystal ball?
I have two.
Okay.
One's quite brief because I've spoken about it quite a lot before, but it's just that I really think vulnerability is going to become
A big topic.
bigger and bigger because, I'm getting more and more comments and having more and more conversations with people about recognising vulnerability within your client base,
Is there
how
an
difficult it
FCA
is.
consultation paper?
The FCA is definitely looking at it. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think there's a consultation. I've lost track of the consultations a little bit. I
have
don't
too
think there's
many.
one specifically on vulnerability. Don't take my word for it. But it's definitely something the FCA is very keen on. And when I spoke to the FCA back end of last year, at some point, I think it was not sort of October time. I had like a press briefing with the FCA and asked them about vulnerability, and they were saying it was something they were really going to be looking at this year. So that's definitely one. I won't go into huge detail because, as I say, I've spoken about it a lot. Our features writer Amanda has written about it a lot, but I really think that's something to look out for. And then a sort of left field one. I wonder if this switch to a 4-day week for advice businesses is going to become a trend that we're seeing more. I noticed that a company called Arman Financial said they would introduce a 4-day working week to try and attract younger advisors to their business. And I know that last year, I think it was the summer last year, Chancery Lane did the same, but to help parents and grandparents with childcare, giving them an extra day where they don't have to.
I also need Tanya.
Well, I mean, it's for everyone. It's not just for parents
I know,
and grandparents, but it was sort of to help the parents and grandparents within their firm.
Okay.
And probably to attract younger advisors as well. So I just wonder if, I know that's only 2, there's probably others that we haven't written about. I just wonder if that's going to become more of a trend within advice. It kind of makes sense for advice firms, I think, to have a 4-day week.
Yeah.
I mean, I also wonder whether it's going to become a big trend more generally.
I don't
But
know.
as this is a financial advice podcast, I'm
Yeah.
talking about advice firms.
I don't know if it will be a big thing because I see a pushback on even like working from home. So
I know there is, like, we are dangerously creeping back to,
Yeah.
dangerously is a bit strong, creeping back
It's
to
dangerous.
5 days in the office. I'm just saying now I'm not going to do that.
I can't imagine how I did before.
I would not have
I know.
taken
You look
this
back
job
now and you think,
if I was going to have to do that.
Every day waking up at 6 a.m. That's
I can't believe I did that for 5-6 years,
like, how was I functioning?
especially with my narcolepsy.
Yeah,
I have to bring
that's
that
probably
into
where
every
it started.
podcast.
Although that's probably not how narcolepsy works.
No, it started way before uni. But
Genetics.
yes, it is. There is a genetic predisposition, yes, but just because you have it doesn't mean you're going to get narcolepsy. It usually comes from a virus, even like a cold or something.
Oh,
A bit like ME.
okay.
Is it ME?
Yeah.
The tiredness one, yeah.
Yeah, it is ME.
I'll just jump in. I've completely forgot to mention
Yeah.
the crystal ball moment.
Uh-huh.
It's the fees, advisor fees.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's a lot of pressure, and advisors are feeling a lot of pressure at the moment to kind of justify their fees, even though they're doing amazing jobs, amazing things, and arguably, some are actually charging too little for what they do. But I spoke to Justine Randall at Tatton Investment Management last week, I think it was, and she was saying that she speaks to IFAs day in day out, and that's the one thing that they're really really worried about this year. Kind of the thing that's keeping them up at night is trying to justify their fees and show evidence of what they're doing for those fees, to be in line with consumer duty and other requirements. And I think Next Wealth put a report out last year, said that a lot of advice firms this year will be looking at sort of changing their fee structure.
Yeah.
I think that could be another big one this year, is just, how are we going to see the fee structures change? Are we going to see, competition with fee structures and so on? That's another one that came to my head.
Yeah, no, I think it also ties into like different advisor or like the client you're trying to target. So if you're trying to target a younger client base, maybe you do have to look at your fee structure, and maybe you need to think of more of a subscription model.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see new firms or different firms come up with different models.
Yeah.
Is there restriction on how they can charge their fees, or like are there like sets of rules like you must do this?
I think there are guidelines, aren't there? I don't know if rules as such, but yeah, it's some are going to a subscription model, some are staying with percentage of assets.
Yeah.
And there's obviously a huge kind of debate about what the right one is, and if there is a right one, or whether it's a completely different model.
I'm not sure my car's even an asset anymore.
No, mine definitely isn't.
Oh, I love my car though.
So do I, but it's falling apart, mine.
I need to get more assets.
Yeah.
Am I Greg stock?
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah.
That is not financial advice.
I think
that's not.
no, let's make that clear.
That was just a random
away from
COVID purchase. Don't listen to me. But so moving on, I guess let's do something a bit fun. No, actually, before we do the fun thing,
let's not do anything fun.
Let's talk about one news story or feature that we've covered or we're going to cover that you think advisors can't afford to overlook, and why. Dan, do you want to start?
Oh, okay. I was gonna let you go first, but that's fine.
Chivalry.
You're on a roll. So I was like, go.
I'm on a roll. I think without a doubt it's IHT on pensions.
Yes.
It's been, obviously it was in the budget, which was, I I lost track now. It's October.
October.
Yeah,
31st. It was spooky.
30th of October.
Oh yeah, the Halloween.
31st.
It was
budget, wasn't it?
Halloween.
Oh, it was Halloween, of course
Yeah.
it was.
I
Spooky
just-
budget.
That's why.
Yeah.
That's why I remember it.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
Specifically.
But yeah, obviously it was first mentioned then,
Mm-hmm.
3-4 months ago, and it's still, almost every day you get a different comment from an advisor. I think the consultation has just closed on it,
Yeah.
and just about
Yeah.
every firm that I've spoken to, every advisor I've spoken to, is like, it's a bad idea. And just about everyone's either urging a complete rethink and to go back to the drawing board, or at least kind of put some measures in place to mitigate it, because it seems to go against everything the FCA is trying to do in some respects. You talked about vulnerability, and you could argue that following the death of a loved one, people are just about at the most vulnerable.
Yeah.
And all IHT on pensions is going to do is just delay the process, make everything a bit more complex. And perhaps if there's inheritance to be passed down, that's going to rather than 6 months or sooner, it'll be a year or longer. And I think it's one of those things that it's just
Isn't
it's
it to try and incentivise people to save into their pension for their retirement rather than to pass money on down to their children?
it's to save money to their retirement, yeah. But I just think the vulnerability side of things, it kind of goes against that. It's going to lead to poorer outcomes for consumers, which again goes against the consumer duty guidelines. For me, that's probably the biggest thing for advisors.
I don't know though, because I think people should be spending their own pension pot or retirement money, however they've saved it, rather than saving all for their children. And I say that as a daughter of retirees,
I was going to say,
not expecting any
Yeah.
inheritance. I just hate that whole mindset. Without getting back on a soapbox again about something else, which I
Yeah.
feel like I'm doing a lot this podcast. I can't stand people with that mindset of
No.
like taking into account inheritance they might get from their parents as part of their
Yeah, it's not nice.
financial future.
It's not nice, but I can see it being a symptom of the time that we're living in.
very grabby and horrible, and you're kind of
I don't
almost
think
wishing
it's-
your parents' death.
Okay,
It's sad.
Okay, there's definitely some people who are just like that. They're just waiting for their parents to pass or their grandparents to pass so
Awful.
that they can get their piece of the pie. But there's others who are like, I can't afford my first place without a grandparent passing. And then so many of my friends were able to buy their first property because a grandparent passed, and after everything was divided for the children and then the grandchildren, they were able to have that money for the
Yeah,
deposit.
I get it. I mean, I can't afford to buy without inheritance.
Yeah.
No. So-
I'd rather my parents live for a very long time than I got to buy a house. But that's just me.
Depends on what their quality of life is living a long
It
time.
also depends on how good your relationship is with your parents and how nice they were to you when you were a child. In my
Yeah.
case, it was very nice.
You're like, pay me back for all that crap you put me through. Or you can just be like, no, I want you to. I think I'm happy for my parents to do with what.
Yeah, I'd much
They
rather
want.
my parents
Enjoy
spent
them,
all
yeah.
their retirement money on their retirement.
Worked hard
had
for
a
it,
great
enjoy it.
time.
Yeah. But we do live in an individualist society.
some
where you
ways I'm
think about me,
selfless.
me. So
In other ways, I'm very selfish, but I just
In
think
this
people should
particular
earn and
way,
spend
you're
their own
not.
money.
but yeah, it's hard. It's hard out there. Have you seen it?
No, I know. I'm out there. I'm not even that badly off.
But what about you, Lois? What do you think
My
advisors should be?
topic is a bit of a switch from what we've just been talking about.
Okay.
And we have already touched on it actually, because it's so I did this podcast with Sarah Coles from Parmenion recently.
Yes.
She's their head of cyber and resilience, and it was all about cybersecurity and what advisors and advice firms should be looking out for. I do think it could have gone in my answers for key trends for the year. I think cybersecurity is going to be a massive one,
Yeah.
as Dan mentioned earlier with the whole
AI.
AI thing, but also just generally. So Sarah was telling me, well, also it's kind of obvious. Like it's no longer. I know like massive firms get into the headlines when they get hacked. Like
TfL.
yeah, there's been quite a few. EasyJet I think got hacked recently, or like last year. But yeah, there's been.
I think it was all the airlines because they were all grounded for a day. It was chaos.
So there are obviously those ones make the headlines, but it's no longer just big firms being targeted. It's not like Sarah was saying.
And also hospitals. A lot of hospital trusts got hacked as well.
Yeah. It's not just like in the TV shows about hacking where it's someone in a hood in a dark room hacking one big firm anymore.
Because that's not actually how it works.
Exactly. It was, Sarah said like it could be the case sometimes, but it's very unlikely that a hacker would put all their resources into hacking one firm. What it tends to be now is bots searching the internet and systems and devices and so on.
And finding weaknesses.
And she said around 50% of web traffic is thought to be bots now.
Really?
Well,
So they're going...
we've
so
had
that
our
means
fair
that-
share of bot attacks.
Yeah.
Which is always scary to wake up to.
50% though. That's
I think it was.
crazy.
I think it was 50%.
Yeah, because have you heard
I
of
hope
the
I'm
dead
right and it wasn't
internet theory?
15%. Listen to the podcast and you'll see whether it was 50 or 15.
Have you heard of the dead internet theory?
No.
dead internet. No.
Yeah. So it's a theory, or actually is kind of already happening, especially if you look at X, where
Twitter.
there's so there's so many bots now out there, like AI generated bots as well, that they'll all just be interacting with each other, especially when you look under like comments. It'll be an AI ad and then under it's just loads of bots and they're like interacting and engaging with each
Creepy, isn't
other.
it?
And that's what the dead internet is that
Oh.
you won't actually know who is real, and the majority of what is on there will just be all bots and AI.
That sounds
Really?
very
Dark
apocalyptic.
side of AI. See.
It also sounds a bit like, I can't remember what company it was, but they've come up with this AI granny. Have you seen that?
No.
So it's a AI granny. I saw the ad for it. I think it was on
amazing.
Instagram when I had Instagram still.
Yeah.
And she's supposed to like be on the phone to hackers, keeping them away from people who actually might be hacked.
Okay.
And she, in the advert, she says something like, "I've got all the time in the world."
That's so scary.
And then someone had commented under that advert post going, imagine like what it will be like. Well, it probably already happens when hackers also have AI people and they get on the phone to the AI granny and they're just locked in this eternal
Never get off the phone.
conversation,
Never.
like dead phone calls. Like,
Oh my god. But I think to wrap up, because we've had a very long and very interesting discussion.
but do listen to Sarah Cole's podcast.
No,
where She
definitely
gives some good
do.
tips, and I haven't had time to go into them today. So
Yeah, no, it was a really good podcast. I listened to it while I was editing. So definitely go and check that out in conversation with Sarah Coles. But finally, our fun topic to end, because this is how I like to end our MM Talks podcast. If you were an advisor for a day, what's the first piece of advice or strategy you'd give to your clients? And I just wanted to do this so that you could annoy all the advisors and they could shout at you guys.
this is not financial advice.
It's definitely not, because you're
Spend
not
all
a
your
qualified
money well
advisor.
Spend all your money well beyond your means because you might die tomorrow. That's not actually it.
YOLO.
Oh.
I was actually going to say...
I'm going to clip that and put it everywhere.
That could be the promo. Yeah.
do what I do, not what I say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember, it's about time in the market, not timing the market. So invest for the long term,
Yeah. Like your weekend essay?
like I do. like my
Warren
weekend essay,
Buffett?
yes.
Yeah.
This is what I was coming on to. So I wrote I attended an event by Sanford Deland recently, a round table. And they were talking about, because they have this, I think it's called Buffettology Fund, which is
Buffettology.
like how they invest like Warren Buffett does.
Yeah.
So he was, I can't remember his name, sorry. It's in my weekend essay.
Yeah.
was talking about, I think it was Eric Burns, was talking about
Sounds familiar.
how to invest like Warren Buffett. And obviously he's like 10th richest guy in the world or something, and you don't get to be that if you're not a very savvy investor.
Yeah.
And he's also been investing since the age of 10 or 11 or something ridiculous
Crazy.
like that. So the main points I drew out of it were to be patient, i.e. don't try and use the stock market like a betting shop
Yeah.
and buy stocks and sell them
Straight away.
because you're timing the market then, and it's not a good idea
No.
unless you're an incredibly experienced stockbroker, but even then.
Day trader.
Yeah, exactly. So always be patient and don't be swayed by either what other people say or what's in the media. For example,
Wow.
COVID.
Okay.
I've mentioned this before, but I had Lloyd's shares then. And you
Yeah.
should have seen the drop in one day when
Really?
COVID hit. It was ridiculous. It was more than halved.
Really?
It was terrifying. And I, not working for money marketing at that time and not having spoken to any advisors, very nearly sold
your
them.
stock.
And then I was like, why am I doing this? That's stupid. And my dad's financial advisor was like, why are you doing this? This is stupid. So I was like, left them in there. Then they went back up again a bit.
Okay.
So don't be like, I think it's quite a cliche and everyone says it, but obviously funds and shares and whatever investments you make are going to go
Up and
like
down.
that. But over the long term, they're going
It's
to do that
up.
mostly, unless like the company unless you just got shares in a company that goes bust.
Like in Nvidia yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday when we're recording.
Yeah. Well, this is going to come out soon, so
Yeah.
this will still be current news.
But yeah, that's my...
And also because everything is cyclical, so you have to remember that as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other last point, but if you want all of the details, go and read my weekend essay.
Yeah.
Or listen to it in my beautiful voice.
Yep.
Either one. Sorry, the last point I was going to make was he said, make sure you invest in businesses that are led by someone with an interest in the business, preferably financial, rather than just like career CEOs who are basically consultants who go around and become CEOs of businesses.
They just go in and go, do we need that person? No, fire.
Yeah, exactly.
They just cut
So that firm is more likely to grow if it's got someone at the helm who's actually got an interest in the business and making it successful. So there you go.
Yeah.
If you want to invest like Warren Buffett, do those two things and all the other stuff I said in my weekend essay.
And that's your advice.
That's my not financial advice, yeah.
I'm just trying to get you in trouble. And Dan?
Well, I'm not a finfluencer yet. So
Yet. Watch out
Watch
this
out.
year.
So I don't feel, I can give unregulated financial advice just yet. But I actually echo Lois's point, I think.
Lazy.
Like, outrageous. I just think, time in the market, it's such a volatile world out there at the moment. You've had, you had both the elections, the UK, the US, had the budget, you've had, you've got the Trump tariffs potentially coming in, you've got issues around China, tensions in the Middle East. It's like a perfect storm for investors at the moment.
Yeah.
And as Lois said, I think, it's very easy to kind of look at the market and go,
Yeah.
and wonder what the right time is. And
But policy changes are always going to affect the
yeah,
economy, so it doesn't really...
no,
It's impossible to time it.
No. And you never know. It could, like, going back to that NVIDIA DeepSeek thing, that was just out of left field. Even they didn't see it coming. That's why all the tech bros are all like, oh, what's going on?
Wall Street.
China's our biggest competition.
Wall Street into chaos.
Yeah. But I think, sticking to it. Yeah.
Seen to guns, yeah.
Yeah.
But and I think that's, again, as Lois said, that's where financial advisors can really be key, is, just stop making that knee-jerk reaction, go, I need to pull my money out now, and give a chance to have a bit of calm, talk to them, reassure them, and actually stop them from making potentially quite a disastrous, financial decision.
Or maybe they'll be like, stopping someone from cashing out their entire pension in one go.
You heard that after, after COVID and Brexit and other sort of, significant events in the last 5 to 10 years. Is you see it all the time where people panic and then.
But if you
Make
look
a
at the long-term graph,
Yeah.
they're even COVID is the tiniest little dip.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
So yeah, I guess hold
Hold.
is our main
Be
point.
patient.
What's my advice? Do what your gut tells you to do.
Or don't if your guts tell you stupid stuff.
Yeah. That's
My
not
gut's
that's not
never
always
led
served me well.
My
Gut's telling
gut
me
has
I'm hungry right now.
Well, yeah, same. And that is a good thing. And that's why we're wrapping up now. But I don't know. My gut's never
Lunchtime.
told me wrong. Because your gut will help you pick the right financial advisor. Your gut will help
Maybe.
you find the right mentor,
Hopefully.
Yeah. I have to believe in my intuition. Trust your intuition.
Just your instincts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Unless you have bad takes normally, then don't.
Then don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ask your friend who's really good at making decisions to do that for you. But yay!
Yay.
So that is it for our first episode of 2025. Thank you both for joining me.
Thank you.
And I look forward to doing more of these episodes. Bye.
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 Bye.